Hello, welcome to the Skate Podcast, your source for all good things in the universe of movies. I'm Brandon.
I'm Josh.
And today we have a special episode. We're going to be talking about 1988's Action Jackson. I hope that's the right year.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. But first, a few items. We'll be talking about DS9 for a second. Josh is going to tell us about another bad movie he just saw. And before that, I just saw Black Panther not too long ago. Wasn't exactly thrilled with it. I know it's getting tons of good reviews.
Yeah.
I would put it in one of my bottom 3 Marvel movies, actually. I might need to see it again, though, to really think about it. But when it first started off, the first 20 minutes, half an hour or so, was actually pretty awesome.
Okay.
It was pretty exciting. It kind of started off like a James Bond movie.
Okay.
And once that ended, it kind of like hit a plateau, and then there are just certain little things that kind of started making it dip for me.
Yeah.
It wasn't a terrible movie. It wasn't bad. Like, it was better than Avengers 2. It was better than Iron Man 3. But it didn't really thrill me too much.
Is this the movie you think they should have had leading into Avengers? Or do you think they should have had it come out earlier and, something else go in to be the last movie before Avengers?
It didn't really feel like in wrestling, there's a thing called the Go Home Show, which is the last TV show before a big pay-per-view, right?
Yeah.
And they usually try to make that one special, like your last chance to really grip people and make them watch the pay-per-view. Okay. This one didn't feel like a go-home movie to me.
Season finale kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, even like the end credit scene, I was expecting more out of that. Okay, yeah, it didn't really do anything to hype up Infinity War. They made some odd decisions in it. It wasn't terrible, just there were a couple things that bothered me about it and kind of took me out of the film. Like, some of the CG was terrible.
Okay.
Some of the green screens were terrible. It was interesting seeing it take place in Africa.
Okay.
It was a nice change of scenery, I suppose.
Right.
But then again, it really wasn't Africa. It was like this big technological city, like a metropolis that was hidden in Africa.
Right.
And fictionalized Wakanda.
Did they do a good job, like, introducing the character to anybody that may have not seen the previous, or do you think it's like they expect everyone who goes to see this movie has seen the previous?
I think if you don't know anything about Black Panther and you go into this, you'll be okay watching it. So,
all right.
It was all right. We'll talk about it more whenever we're able to watch it at home, I guess. Okay, now Action Jackson is not the greatest movie, I would say. You watched Battlefield Earth, which also has a reputation for being pretty terrible.
Yeah, I mean, I had seen it before, but
I had seen it before, too, maybe like 20 years ago. Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah, I think I saw it probably like the year after it came out in theaters because it was probably a rental.
So, did it change? Did your memory of it change?
There's a few things I always remembered. I like crap lousy ceiling when he hits his head. Like, I remember that, and certain things kind of came back to me a little bit, but yeah, it was not good. Now,
would you say it's good, not good? Or bad, not good? Do you think it's worth watching? Did it have entertainment value?
A little bit, but not, like, it was one of those movies that, so when did it come out? I think 2000, so I probably saw it around 2000, 2001. I could go the rest of my life without ever seeing it again. It was good enough to rewatch after, 18 years? But that's about it,
I remember watching it. I think I remember actually kind of liking it when I first saw it, but I was a teenager and I was stupid, so I don't know.
It's one of those movies that they explain. They'll have two characters say what's going on or what they're about to do, so
you're saying
the
it was
audience knows what's going on.
Exposition expose.
Yeah. There's a lot of that kind of stuff, and, explaining my plan out loud so that...
It's cheesy.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like they don't think you'll be able to keep up with it.
I wouldn't mind going back and watching it at some point.
Netflix.
Maybe I'll make you watch it again for an episode later.
Okay. Yeah, it was one of those things I just saw it was on Netflix. I thought, yeah, why not? So.
Speaking of Netflix and things we both watch, I just kind of started DS9.
Oh, you never seen it yet?
Well, I had gone through it once. I remember when it was on TV that I didn't really care too much for it for a couple of reasons. One was it was on a space station and they weren't exploring space. And without watching it, I had already judged that to be boring.
Yeah, no, I did the same thing.
And also, the few episodes I had seen, I had caught them right while they're doing like some really heavy religious stuff with the Bajorans.
Yeah.
So it's like, what is this?
Yeah.
And it just turned me off to the whole thing. Well, maybe like 5 years ago, because it's all on Netflix, I ended up watching the whole series, and it's better than I expected it to be.
Yeah. I think it's probably the best written show.
So I just finished TNG.
Okay.
rewatching that for like the 5th time, and started DS9 again. And I kind of, I don't know if I realized this the first time I watched it, but it's basically a space western. I think I was talking to you a little bit about that, but when I started looking it up, I'm like, I wonder if I'm onto something here. So I started Googling, and I found out that actually it was kind of the inspiration for the show was based on The Rifleman, which is an old Western TV show. It's about a guy raising a kid in the old lawless West. So, I mean, you can see some parallels there.
Yeah,
and I started thinking about it like, Odo's the hardcore lawman. Quark is the seedy bartender that's always up to no good. The wormhole itself is kind of like a gold mine, creating kind of a gold rush. Everybody from the Alpha Quadrant is coming to check it out now and explore it. So there's some parallels there. There's also kind of like the school teacher thing with O'Brien's wife. So if anybody out there decides to go ahead and rewatch it, it'll kind of keep that in mind. Like it kind of follows some of the tropes of an old Western. Well, that's about all. Is there anything else you wanted to get to before we got to Action Jackson?
Yeah. We were talking a little bit before about this new Lost in Space trailer.
Oh, yes.
What do you think?
I was a fan of Lost in Space as a kid. I've watched all the reruns. They used to show it on Sci-Fi Channel all the time. I thought the theme song was great. The characters were fun. It was a more targeted towards children, especially towards the end of the run. But it kind of had a little bit of a Star Trek feel to it, too, the original series. I mean, that was cheesy, too. But you had some classic characters, Will Robinson, the robot, and Dr. Smith. Like,
with the trinity of just like...
They were the big 3 characters,
Kirk, especially... Spock, and McCoy,
especially Dr. Smith is like a TV icon for back in the day, like as far as classic TV goes. So we were watching the trailer for the new one. When you first showed it to me, I only was able to see like the first half of the trailer. And then I had to go do something. I got interrupted, so... I was like, oh, it looks kind of cool. It looks interesting. And then after we finished the trailer, oh, man, I don't even want to watch it now. Netflix, you screwed this one up. Dr. Smith is such an iconic, whiny, sniveling, conniving, little wimpy guy. Always up to no good, only cares about himself. He's trying to find any way he can to get back home. He manipulates Will and the robot to the best of his abilities. Like, he's such a scumbag, but at the same time, he's fun to watch. And they changed it from a man to a woman for no reason other than to just do it. And I can't really see a woman playing that role. It's not a sexist thing. It's just like, you want to hate this guy. You want to look at him as a little worm that you could beat up. Like, if you could, you'd get your hands on him and slap some sense into him. You can't do that to a woman. I mean, come on. Like, it's so... Why are you going to change the most iconic character of the TV show from a man to a woman? They also did it with one of the kids is a mixed race or different race than the rest of the family.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure how they're going to explain that, if it's going to be an adopted kid or what.
I remember when Fantastic Four did it, the newest one. You know, they changed Johnny Storm. And people were confused then, and it didn't make a lot of sense. So I don't know why it's happening again, but just the fact that they're trying to basically diversify the show makes me really not even care about it.
So I also watched the original Lost in Space. I don't know why it just suckered me in, like the way every episode was a cliffhanger to the next episode. I think most of them, if not all of them, did that, where every episode ended where you see the next problem they face. So I always had to tune in. I used to go rush home from school to watch it. I'm not as invested as Star Trek, but I liked it well enough, you know.
Well, it wasn't as good as Star Trek. They were both cheesy, but...
I don't know. It's just me. It almost looks like they're taking cues from the new Westworld. Like that very... There's like a dark, mysterious kind of... Like,
yeah, I can kind of see that.
I think a lot of shows ever since Lost have kind of been doing that, where there's like some mysterious background thing, and that every episode is a little bit another piece of the puzzle.
Lost might be part of it. Another thing is the way people binge watch stuff now, like with all the streaming services out there, including Netflix. You want to string people along and get them to watch the whole thing almost as if it's one big episode each season. And I kind of miss the days of like one-shots, like watching these old Star Treks, you know, TNG. Episode happens, they have a problem, try and figure out how to do it, then they take care of it, and they move on to the next thing, and that's the next episode.
Yeah.
You know, there's a little bit of continuous stuff in there, but you didn't have to do it from episode to episode all the time.
Yeah, there's a lot of shows that do that now.
Yeah.
What do you think of the robot? The new look for the new robot?
knew it wasn't going to look old and cheesy like the old one, so I didn't care. It was fine.
I just rewatched the trailer earlier today, and actually I found it a little more compelling than I did the first time.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of interesting that the robot is...
It's just such a bummer. Oh, sorry. Keep going.
It seems to me the robot is... Obviously, he's not from them. Like, they show Will clearly discovers it. The dad is afraid of it because he doesn't know what it is. And I think it's kind of cool because when they show his hand, it looks more like a claw, which makes me assume that whatever alien race created it, I'm assuming they modeled it to look somewhat like them. I'm guessing, maybe. So it kind of makes me interested to know who invented this robot. Why is the robot there? Was he put there to like do reconnaissance for this alien race? Was he put there to, you know, do some damage, like hunt and destroy kind of thing? Is that a malfunction thing? Or maybe he's just, you know, exploring on their behalf like a satellite. So I'm kind of interested in that. I don't know. I think it was kind of cool look.
When I found out that they were doing a Lost in Space show, I got really excited. And then after seeing the trailer, I'm just so bummed about it because it's nothing against women or anything like that. It's just, why would you change the biggest character? You know, sometimes it makes sense to go ahead and change things up a little, but in that case, I can't see it. And they have, it sounds like they have a pretty big cast actually. So I'm wondering if they'll be in contact with other people, maybe back from Earth or something.
Well, I mean, as far as Dr. Smith, I don't think she is going to be as a fraidy cat.
Well, then you're changing the character, and it's not Dr. Smith then. So why would you do it?
True. I mean, they did that with Star Trek, the rebooted Star Trek. I mean, they do this all the time now. So
I didn't watch that either.
Oh, you never watched the rebooted Star Trek?
Are you talking about the new one?
The J.J. Abrams Star Trek.
Oh, the movies?
Yeah,
the movies I
mean,
considered an alternate universe, so I was okay with it.
I don't know. I'm a little more interested now because I think it's... Okay, most of your sci-fi now is very militaristic. It's, you know, conquering, you know, parts of space. And I'm kind of interested to see a sci-fi show that's a little more about the mysteriousness of space or the unknown, the exploring, you know,
we'll see if they can
stuff.
change my mind, but I'm just too disappointed.
It doesn't look like it's going to be as much like good guy shoots at bad guy shoots back, explosions. And I'm sure that some of that stuff will be in there, but I'm looking forward to seeing maybe something that's a little more makes you think, maybe something about like altering time or dimensions or just, you know, weird stuff, like kind of like what the Next Generation used to do. Yeah.
All right, let's move along here to our main movie, Action Jackson from 1988.
Yeah. So what do you got for us on
that? All right, so here's the synopsis from the back of the Blu-ray, which I'd like to get, by the way. Like a blast from a .44 Magnum, Carl Weathers makes Action Jackson a hero who delivers the goods in charisma and excitement. He plays Detroit Police Sergeant Jericho Jackson, pitted against the brutal thugs of ruthless auto tycoon Peter Delaplane, Craig T. Nelson, who's out to murder his way to political power. Jackson's also involved with Delaplane's beautiful wife, Patrice, Sharon Stone, and his exotic mistress, Sydney, Vanity. Framed up and hunted down by his fellow officers, Jackson sets up a desperate showdown that hurls Action Jackson toward a heart-stopping climax. Does that sound about right to you?
That and more.
Okay, right. So we got a little bit of trivia here.
Yeah, take it away.
Shuffle my papers. All right, so Action Jackson was released in 1988 on a $7 million budget and grossed $20 million at the box office and another $45 million in VHS sales. Critically, it was less successful, receiving poor reviews. Roger Ebert gave it 1 star, saying that the movie couldn't decide if it was an overly violent action thriller or a comedy. Surprisingly, he praised Vanity's performance. It currently has a 9% critic score and 32% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes. Action Jackson was Craig R. Baxley's feature film directorial debut, after having done work on other films such as The Warriors, The Long Riders, Reds, and Predator. The studio hoped to turn the film into a franchise, but it never happened. Dangerous Passion from 1990, starring Carl Weathers, was released as Action Jackson 2 in some countries, but was totally unrelated. The final fight from Rocky II can be seen on the television at the beginning of the film. Supposedly, movie posters for Predator can be seen on the side of a building. I don't remember seeing that, do you?
No, I didn't.
According to his stolen police ID, Jericho's date of birth was 3/13/38, which would have made him 50. At the time of filming, Carl was 39. Before the APS delivery man shoots Tony, he says it's COD, which can stand for either cash on delivery or cause of death.
Yeah.
And that's my trivia.
Okay.
Real quick, before we move on from that, do you have anything to say about the APS delivery guy?
No, I don't.
What do you think it stands for?
I was wondering what they were going to have that stand for. Clearly, obviously, UPS wouldn't give them permission to have him be a UPS guy, so...
Do you think they called the Action Postal Service?
Maybe. Assassination Postal Service.
All right. Okay, so this takes place in Detroit.
Yeah. Our neck of the woods.
Yeah, and you can actually see it, especially at the beginning of the movie when they are going through all the city. Mm-hmm. Like, it looks familiar.
Yeah, I was reading that some of it was shot in Detroit. Probably anything that's, like, landmark, if you will.
I'm assuming they got, like, all the aerial shots of the city, like anything that shows that kind of stuff.
And then I think they said, like, was it Denver and L.A., I think?
It was filmed in Denver, Pasadena, L.A., and Detroit.
Okay. Yeah, I doubt the actual shots with the cast, probably nothing, Detroit.
Mm-hmm. I guess Detroit was a big place for cop movies in the 80s, because you also have Beverly Hills Cop, which started out in Detroit, and RoboCop.
Right, and I was going to ask you, did you think that maybe, because I think RoboCop came out the year before this, do you think that had any influence on them setting it in Detroit? Like,
I know Detroit wasn't the original place they were going to have set the story.
Okay.
I don't know what caused them to choose Detroit, but it's cool that they did. It's always fun to see it.
Yeah.
And also maybe because the plot that they decided to go with, because it's very heavily about the auto unions.
Yeah.
So Detroit would be the perfect place for that. And I assume that the yacht scene where they chained the bomb to the guy was on the Detroit River.
Yeah, probably.
So what do you know about this movie before you watched it?
Nothing at all.
Just me mentioning it every now and then?
I don't even recall you mention it. Don't think I even knew there was a movie called Action Jackson.
No, never heard of it?
No. What's funny, though, is at work we have this sledgehammer, which is, the name brand is Jackson, and we always called it the Action Jackson.
Oh, really? For me, I rented it with my buddy Chris. We both worked at Blockbuster, like 2001, 2002.
Okay.
Yeah, we watched it, and I knew who Carl Weathers was, and
right.
I think that, Craig T. Nelson, too. We watched it. I had never heard of it before, and this is back then, and I just thought it was the funniest movie ever. So since then, every now and then, I break it out, dust it off, and watch it. But other than that, I haven't really heard that much about the movie.
Yeah.
Movie stars Carl Weathers. We're both familiar with him, obviously.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
In an interview, he said that he actually came up with the idea for the movie and the name of the character. He was talking to a crew member while he was working on the set of Predator. Mm-hmm. And Joel Silver was the producer, and he brought it up to him, and Joel Silver handed it off to a writer, Robert Renaud?
Sure. I
think it's Renaud. Anyway, a year later, the three of them were making the movie.
Okay.
It's pretty funny. I don't think I've seen a lot with Carl Weathers in it. For me, it's just mostly Rocky, Predator, and Arrested Development. Mm-hmm. What about you?
I know he was in Happy Gilmore.
Other than that, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I guess that is kind of the only things I really think of. Rocky. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's it.
So in all of those other things, well, maybe not so much Arrested Development, but in Rocky and in Predator, he plays kind of a more serious guy. Mm-hmm. I think in Rocky, he's more flamboyant a little bit, kind of borrowing a little bit from Muhammad Ali, being the cocky boxer. I thought his acting in this was okay. I don't know if he is able to pull off comedy as well as he is the more serious roles.
I can't picture him as much in comedy, but then again, he did pretty well with Happy Gilmore and Arrested Development,
Yeah, okay. Well, yeah, he did great in Arrested Development. Just in this movie, he seems like his style of acting kind of clashes a little bit. Like, I don't know.
Okay.
Like, he does an okay job. He's not terrible in it. Mm-hmm. He's not a horrible actor. He's fine. He doesn't have the biggest range.
What's funny is I thought he was going to be, since his character is Action Jackson, I thought for sure he would be more like a tough guy, a little more like... It's like he's one of those guys where he's a legend. Everyone else calls him Action Jackson. Like, he doesn't seem to care about that title, or he's not like Mr.
It seems like a lot of his action days are behind him. They had kind of that backstory.
I guess that could be, but like I was just surprised how he seemed very tame. Like he's like the old lion. Like,
Well,
you know,
yeah.
just
So his name is Action Jackson. He has this terrible reputation for being a destructive
Yeah.
force. And when we first see him, sitting behind a desk with a tie, talking about how he went to law school and he was a Star Trek runner and all this stuff.
yeah.
Like, he seems like just a regular nice guy.
yeah.
Which is kind of funny. But yeah, the character is kind of like a weird combo of nice and understanding and smart. He's an athlete. He's in great shape.
Oh yeah.
But then also, like I said, he's got that reputation of being vengeful and destructive. And whenever it comes to his nemesis, Peter Delaplane, he gets like fired up real easy and he's ready to go after him. There's the strange backstory with Delaplane's kid that supposedly he had ripped his arm off or something. They say something to that effect. You ripped his arm off, and he's like, he had a spare, you know, that kind of stuff. And because of whatever happened with Delaplane's kid, he got demoted from lieutenant to sergeant.
Right.
So now he's like stuck behind a desk. Delaplane is Craig T. Nelson.
Right.
You know, Craig T. Nelson from Coach, obviously.
I know that he's in Coach. I didn't watch it a whole lot. I more think of Craig T. Nelson as Mr. Incredible from The Incredibles. That he was the voice. And Parenthood, which is a TV show based off the 19-something movie with Keanu Reeves and Rick Moranis. And
with Keanu Reeves in it?
The movie was. The movie was like, I think it was like, I want to say 87, 88. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it had like Joaquin Phoenix, Keanu Reeves.
But he was in the...
Rick Moranis,
that's the movie.
Steve Martin. Yeah, they're all in the movie.
But he was in the TV show.
Yes.
Okay.
Which is loosely... I think it's like different family. Like they'd named the family something different, but like, yeah.
Yeah, I know him from Coach, obviously, and the Poltergeist series. He's in...
Oh, that's right. I know he was in this like really bad movie about a shark. Something about like a shark creature that had shark with legs or something.
Was it a sci-fi movie?
Yeah, it was like a sci-fi original movie or something, but it was
like Sharkano.
Something about some like shark that had
Attack of the Killer Squidbilly.
You know, altered in a lab or something, so it had like legs and stuff, so it could, you know.
Sounds like a winner.
Yeah.
It was kind of weird seeing him in this role because he's not exactly cute and cuddly in Coach. He's kind of a pretty serious guy in a way.
See, I don't know. Like I said, I just knew he was in Coach, but I never.
He didn't have like a real huge sense of humor. He was kind of more of a strict guy, and I guess he had to be because he was a football coach, right? Okay. So, and then I've seen him in that, and I saw him as like, you know, a caring dad in Poltergeist, and then you go to this, and he plays a real sleazebag.
Yeah.
He's kind of like that mustache twirling, evil, I've got an evil plan type villain.
Yeah, when he goes to he's actually like practicing his moves with his, like, I guess trainer or a trainer, and then like when he finally beats the guy, he goes to offer his hand like to pull him up, and then he just breaks his arm for no reason.
Yeah, and that scene particularly amused me because I just thought the idea of watching him do like him in a karate and martial arts scene was hilariously silly. But then actually while looking this up, he might actually know some martial arts. It turns out his second wife is president of a martial arts association. She's a karate instructor, a Tai Chi teacher. That's hard to say. And she's also had work as an actor. So,
okay. So maybe he knew some stuff.
Yeah, he might actually know some stuff. But it always cracks me up when I see him doing that stuff. He's a big guy too. You don't usually
he's tall.
picture.
He looks pretty tall.
He's 6'4", I believe. Yeah. So he plays basically this rich auto. I assume he has his own auto company.
Yeah, I'm not quite clear on what exactly what he has his money in.
They never make
his money from.
They never go too deep into it, but they do show that commercial for Delaplane cars, hottest, and then the car zooms off into space.
Yeah. Yeah.
And basically what he's doing in this movie is he's hired these guys, these ninja dudes.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure we'll talk about them a little bit, to go around and basically off auto workers union members.
Right. He's trying to get one of his guys to take a position in that circle so that he can basically have a...
Yeah, he has his hand-selected henchman that he wants to rise to become the president of the auto workers union. And he explains that in the 1970s, the auto workers union. I cannot talk.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Right.
So that they selected a peanut farmer to send to presidential office. And it's not that he wants to become president. It's he wants to choose who becomes president. He wants to be the man behind the strings. Behind the scenes, pulling all the strings. And he doesn't really care about anybody but himself. He killed his ex-wife, his partner, his new wife, and he even talks about killing his son, which is kind of weird because that's his whole hatred for Action Jackson comes from him sending his son to prison.
I don't remember him saying that about his son.
It was after they capture Action Jackson and they got him tied up. He says that my son may have to join him soon. You know, accidents do happen in jail. So it's kind of weird. Like, he doesn't really care about anybody.
Okay.
Was there any line that he uttered that you got a girl kick out of?
Him?
Yeah.
I can't recall.
There was one where you kind of giggled, and I
don't remember what he said.
So Vanity is practicing at Club whatever.
Yeah.
And he's watching her do
Club
a performance.
Seduction.
Club something. I had it written down somewhere, but I'll look for it later. So she's doing like her little act, but he's the only one there, and he's sitting at the table, and she comes over, and she's like, I thought I'd get a standing ovation.
Oh, yes. I forgot about that.
You're getting one.
Yeah.
But yeah, he does a great job in the movie. I think he does the best acting for the film.
Agreed.
He's married to Patrice, who is Sharon Stone.
Correct.
She's in the movie. She's not in it a whole lot.
No.
Which is kind of weird because you think that it's going to end up being Patrice and Action Jackson versus Peter Delaplane the whole time. And they kind of set that up just to have him shoot her in the belly. And that's another thing that's kind of weird about this. I was
surprised. That did surprise me. I wasn't expecting her to get killed off.
Another thing that's kind of weird is, okay, here's this guy who's already, like, been suspected of other things, right? Action Jackson's onto him. Everybody knows, right?
Yeah.
So his ex-wife died. His partner died. His wife died. He tries to blow up Vanity, who's his mistress.
Yeah.
He frames Carl Weathers, Action Jackson. He's talking about killing his kid. All the people, there's murders going around in the union, which he has ties to. Doesn't seem like everything should just be pointing at that guy. Like, it's all way too much coincidental evidence. Like, there's something wrong with this guy because everybody around him dies. Yeah,
I guess, unless he has a good group of people that clean things up for him.
So Sharon Stone was okay in this movie. She wasn't great. She didn't have the biggest part.
No.
I don't think I've watched a whole lot of her movies. I know she was in Basic Instinct. I've never seen it.
Never seen it. I know she was in Casino, and I saw that
I've seen Casino,
once.
Yeah. And then she was in Scarface too, I think.
That I don't know.
I can't remember.
She might have been. I don't know.
I just know whenever she's in a movie that it has nudity in it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's like her reputation.
Oh.
So there's that. She ended up dying. She wasn't in the movie very much. Vanity, who is the heroin-addicted mistress of Craig T. Nelson, Peter Delaplane.
Which I think she was only with him to get drugs, right? Basically.
Like, he kind of kept her hooked on him by hooking her. Like, he had the syringe and he was injecting her with heroin. I assume that's what it was.
Yeah.
So I would have expected to be kind of the other way around, for the wife to team up with Action Jackson and then for Vanity to bite the dust.
Sure.
But they kind of reversed it.
Right.
Which was kind of surprising. I don't think she's the best actress. I mean, she's not the worst.
Well, I didn't realize this about her. So like you said, they first introduce her and they show her entire song. Like, I thought it would just be...
Yeah, you didn't know who she was, and they were showing all of her songs.
They were showing her whole song, so, like, I was like, okay, was it, like, in her contract that, like, okay, I'm going to be in this movie, but you have to let me sing 2 songs? Because she was actually a singer, and I think she was in, like, a girl group called, like, Vanity Six or something like that. Yeah, she was in a girl group called Vanity Six. She got involved in the industry in the late 70s, and throughout the 80s, she became kind of a pop sensation. And I never heard of her.
She had a relationship with...
Prince. I saw that.
Prince was the big one, but also Rick James.
Oh, really?
And, yeah, she left Rick James for Prince. And then also Billy Idol, and there's a few more in that list, but, yeah.
Okay.
She floated around a bit.
Yeah, so I was thinking, like, man, they're, like, going to do this whole entire song. And it just makes me wonder, is it like they were like, well... You know, we have this singer that we're putting in our movie. What's her thing she does? She sings, so let's give her a musical number? Or was it like she was like, well, I need something that's going to help further my music career, so I have to, you know, like she negotiated to get to be able to sing 2 songs in the movie? I don't know.
Yeah, she It's funny that this movie takes place in Detroit, and we mentioned Beverly Hills Cop. She also had a song in the Beverly Hills Cop soundtrack, too.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But yeah, her acting isn't the greatest. It's kind of an appropriate role for her because she had a reputation for being really wild, and she was addicted to all kinds of drugs, and she lived a really rocky life up until the early 90s.
Okay.
So I would think that, if she were a better actress, she would have really been able to do something with this role, but she was just kind of okay.
She's almost playing just herself, in a sense.
Yeah, but like really, really almost innocent and fluffy in a way for being somebody who's hooked on drugs. Because she kind of floated around and joked with Carl Weathers the whole time. And then, did you notice like her voice, especially towards the beginning, sounded kind of weird, like she was 80 yard?
No, I didn't notice that.
I felt like that. I wasn't sure if it was just her acting kind of strange or what was going on. But I guess in the 1990s, she decided to turn her life around. She became a Christian, and she did all sorts of stuff. She ended up dying actually 3 months before Prince.
Oh, really?
Yep. So not too long ago, due to complications from drug use back in the 80s.
Yeah.
So that's kind of sad. But at least she was able to make peace with herself and all that.
Right.
But let's talk about the movie itself. Now, you, as we were watching this, were saying, oh, he's in this, she's in that.
Yeah, it's a lot of people I noticed from other big movies, typically a Predator, Die Hard, and a Lethal Weapon.
Go ahead.
Well, right off the bat, opens up and you have the guy is in Lethal Weapon. The guy that ultimately gets thrown out the window.
Yeah, it's a guy and his secretary,
and she is also in Lethal Weapon, and I think we also looked it up. She's in Die Hard as well.
She's in both, yeah.
But like the first thing that's happening is like they're hearing a sound, and like first they dismiss it, and then they just keep talking, and then like another sound, and like the guys come in, they'll like push her across the desk, and then like they're gone. And he's like looking for them, and
yeah, that's your introduction to
this
movie. So
I was like, okay, what is this? Is this a murder or is this a magic trick? What's happening? These guys are like ghosts or ninjas or both.
They were
like it was ridiculous how they went about it.
It almost seemed supernatural in a way, but they weren't. But the way that they filmed it made them seem like
they would literally come in and like throw the knife at him, and then he pulled the knife out, and then like they're gone again. Then like run through and punch him in the face, and then they're gone again. It was
I'm gonna bring this scene back up in a little bit, but who else? What other connections are there?
Okay, so from Die Hard we had Robert Davey. That's Action Jackson's friend in this movie.
Yeah, I know him best from being basically the bad guy in License to Kill, one of the Timothy Dalton James Bond movies.
Okay, we got Al Leong, if I'm saying that correctly. He was also one of the terrorists in Die Hard.
Most people should know who that is, and real quick, because we looked this up just a second ago. Like, he's been in so much stuff.
Yeah.
So this is just a partial filmography. These are the ones that I've seen. Twilight Zone, the movie. Big Trouble in Little China, which came out in 1986, and the movie he did before that was a movie called Big Trouble.
Interesting.
Yeah, isn't that kind of weird? So, Lethal Weapon 1 and 4, Die Hard, They Live, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, Last Action Hero, Hot Shots Part 2, Beverly Hills Cop 3, Double Dragon, Godzilla 98, and that's it.
Okay.
Those are just the ones I've seen. I mean, he's been in a ton of other stuff, but everybody knows who this guy is. He's got that big mustache.
Right. Okay, so yeah, Devereaux White, he was Argyle in...
Yeah, that's my cousin.
Yes, in
Along
Die
with
Hard.
Jaleel.
He was the one, yes. He was the one that drove Bruce Willis in the limo. He was in this movie, and Dennis Hayden, he was one of the terrorists, the one that was actually posing as the Nakatomi front doorman. So then Lethal Weapon, we have Mary Ellen Trainor. She was the woman that got killed right at the beginning of the movie. Again, Al Leong. And then from Predator, you have obviously Carl Weather, Bill Duke, and Sonny Landrum. And then, of course, Joel Silver produced both Die Hard and Predator. So, yeah, there's a lot of people that were in
a lot of connections
one of those
here.
Three.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. It's just the 80s, I suppose, with any action movie, you're going to bump into the same people. I think I heard about Sonny that he's actually Italian, but he always gets cast to play Native American. So I had a list that I was making while we were watching this movie of some of my favorite ridiculous moments from this film. And we can go through them and talk about them.
Sure.
Number one is the one you were just talking about. I call it the flaming body scene. So they're up in that office.
Yeah.
These guys come in on a helicopter. They're like ninjas. They'd show up and do something, then disappear.
Yeah. It was ridiculous.
In this movie, it's cheesy and fun to watch, but I remember, like, in Terminator 4, the CG Arnold, do you remember that? Would just come up, he'd, like, throw whoever he was fighting.
Christian Bale.
Yeah, he'd throw Christian Bale and then run and hide. I'm like, what? Kill him. You just threw him.
Yeah.
Like, why aren't you staying? Just kill him. Smush his head. You're a robot, you know?
Yeah.
In this, like, that same thing happens. They'll, like, throw a knife at the guy and then just disappear. There's a scene where, like, the desk is shaking, like somebody's under it. This guy has a gun. I don't know what kind of gun it is.
That's my point.
He's got this handgun, and he's just blah, blah, blah.
I thought about counting how many bullets. Yeah. They never show him reload. There are certain
guns that
have a magazine that's longer, and this guy is shooting probably 20 bullets.
Yeah, he's got a magical movie clip, and the bullets seem like they're way stronger than they should be for his gun.
Yeah.
Because he shoots his desk, and it basically blows up.
Yeah, it was pretty ridiculous, but yeah, I was like, that's a good gun.
And then, eventually they get I think they killed his secretary, too.
They, like, threw her through, like, a...
window, like a glass wall.
Like, they show her, like, fall. I'm assuming she died, but, like, she may not have. I don't know.
I think they did say that she died. But, they took her out first, and then finally they get this guy. And, like, so they're kind of coming in almost like ninjas. Mm-hmm. And they're doing these tricks where they're able to show up and disappear and all that stuff. Yeah. And, like, they were stealthy at first. But then they finish him off with a grenade launcher.
Right.
Which happens to be one of the bad guys' like favorite weapons.
Yeah.
So they shoot him with the grenade launcher, and you see this guy's flaming body go out the window. And then in slow motion, he falls and falls and falls. He's from this super high floor way up, and then he ends up crashing through a glass ceiling into a restaurant, landing on a table. Everybody screams, and I'm thinking to myself, if you hit that guy point blank with a grenade, he would be in like 25 pieces. Yeah. But it's just a flaming body. And just like the whole scene is so ridiculous and hilarious.
Yeah.
It really gets you pumped for the rest of the movie, I think.
Right.
Like, okay.
Well, that was a good intro. When
you're in for a treat.
Yeah.
With that opening.
No, yeah, because when it got to the ending, one of the last things that happened, I was like, oh, please do what I think you're about to do.
Yes.
And I knew
there were a couple of parts where we were watching it together, and you're like, oh, please do this, and then they do it. Yeah. Because you were hoping for the most ridiculous thing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It would be funny to see a movie now, like, be made and just have the most outlandish stuff you could think of,
It's kind of what...
As a joke,
It's not quite to that extreme, but that's kind of how The Expendables is. It's supposed to be like a throwback to those 80s, over-the-top action movies. My second scene that I picked out was, I call it Cab Chase and Flip.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yes, that was a good one.
I can't remember. I think, Action Jackson is coming out of the restaurant with Patrice.
Correct.
The wife, right?
Yes.
And they almost get hit by a cab. Carl Weathers sees the guy and he's like, stay here. And I guess because he was on the track team, he's super fast. He's able to run and keep up with the cab to the point where he's able to jump on top.
Yeah, he's running. Like, the cab already had a head start, so he starts running. He rounds a street corner, and eventually, they show where he's caught up with it. He's actually running in sync with the cab. I'm thinking, okay, you could...
This is one of the things that Roger Ebert complained about.
As a cop, you could technically commandeer a vehicle, but that wouldn't be very fun. So, he's running with it. Then eventually, he is able to run and jump on something and grab on top of the car. So now he's on top of this cab.
And somehow he's holding on to the top while it's speeding through Detroit. For unknown reasons, everything around them starts exploding. There are trucks that explode for no reason.
And I thought it was funny, too, that the driver... Mm-hmm. The would-be assassin shoots instead of like shooting over where he's at, or just like spreading it out, he's just shooting in one spot, boom, 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 boom. Like, he doesn't try to even hit anything.
So eventually the cab slams to a stop, forcing Carl Weathers to go flying off of it. He rolls around in the street, gets up. The guy has his gun pointed at him,
right,
from behind the windshield, and he's getting ready to shoot him. Carl Weathers is like, no, stop. Wait, don't shoot me. Be a man, run me over. Which is, hilarious in itself.
Yeah.
Be a man, just run me over. Come on, do it. Don't shoot me. That's the girl's way out or something. He's going on about that. So the bad guy, in typical bad guy fashion, chooses to accommodate him, revs up, and lets it fly. So this cab is speeding towards Action Jackson, who then proceeds to do a somersault flip in the air over the cab, which ends up crashing into a store and flipping over upside down.
Right.
And I'm sure at some point it exploded because it's Action Jackson. It has to, right? But Carl Weathers, it takes him maybe about 5 seconds to get from where he's at to go to the flipped over car, which was just in an accident. Whoever was inside had to have been dazed and confused, probably hurt. But this guy is gone already.
Right.
Because he's one of those ninja guys.
Yeah, I was wondering if maybe George Lucas saw this movie and got the idea for the prequels where nobody can jump from point A to point B without, like, a crazy
that
flip.
is a point. I think in the second one, the second one was Clone Wars?
Yeah.
Where they had, like, that...
Attack of the Clones.
They had that scene where all the Jedi are, like, in the Roman...
Cathedral.
arena.
Yeah.
And they're fighting all those monsters, and then here comes the stormtroopers and stuff. And
it might not have been as bad in the...
But I remember everybody doing, flips.
Nobody can just jump from here to here. It's, like, got to have a flip, and he actually flips while he
Either way, it would have been kind of ridiculous, but had he jumped up and ran along the car, like, I've seen that in Kung Fu movies, But to see Carl Weathers do a gigantic somersault over this car
right, yeah.
is just... laugh out loud moments, I swear. So there's that. The next one that I wrote down, I called it Out the Window. So this is where Sonny comes in, Billy from Predator.
Yeah.
They're up on maybe like the 5th, 6th story of this hotel. Mm-hmm. And Billy, we'll just call him Billy because I don't know his name in the movie. They don't say it. He's a drug dealer. Yeah. And Vanity has been hooked on drugs, Sydney. So she goes to visit him, and he's selling her some stuff. Carl Weathers busts in, trying to get her to not take the drugs and get her away from that guy. But he's all drugged up, and he's coming after Carl Weathers with a knife. And they even get to the point where he injects him with whatever he was going to give her, and the guy just starts laughing and going crazy. So it's like, oh, crap, what am I going to do? So as they're having this fight, the other police officers are actually on the lookout for Action Jackson because he's been framed in the murder of Patrice Delaplane.
Right. One of those being Tom Wilson.
Yeah. We get our 2 police officers that have the reoccurring scenes.
Yeah, they're into the whole thing.
Yeah, and one of them is Biff from Back to the Future. Yep. And they're talking about whatever they're talking about, and they happen to see Action Jackson, Jericho's car in an alley. Yeah. So they pull over. They're like, hey, is that Jackson's car? So they go to check it out. So the fight is happening up above in this room. Police are down below looking at this car. It gets to the point where Carl Weathers is going to throw this guy out the window. So now pause it right there. All right, it's a ridiculous movie. He's going to throw this guy out the window. The cops are right below them looking at the car. Right. What do you think is supposed to happen there?
That he's just going to fall down and hit the car.
Yeah, and then they'll look up and see him up there and be like, oh, crap, and then go chase him, right? No. This is Action Jackson. We have to do things to the most ridiculous degree. So he throws Sonny out the window. Cops look up, see Sonny flying out the window, who goes sailing over the alley through the window of the next building. Yeah. So he throws him from building to building. And one of the most hilarious things I've ever seen in my life. That scene is probably my favorite one in the movie. Yeah. There's more, though, right?
Yeah. Oh, there's more.
Yeah, so what did you think about that one?
I mean, I thought it was funny, but yeah, you really busted up on that one.
I can't help myself. That is just the funniest thing because you're already... It's the perfect setup. Guy lands on the car. Nope, we're going to throw him into the next building. Yeah. And it's such
It would have been funnier
thing.
If they showed the people in that building also with this body crashing through,
but... next one that I wrote down is Mr. Ed.
Yes.
So there's this bodyguard for Vanity. I don't know if they ever say his name, or if they do, you just gloss over it. I guess his name is Ed.
But he was hired by...
He was hired by Peter Delaplane to protect Sydney. So, yeah, to either... To make sure probably no other guys come around or whatever. Yeah. He's already kind of a goofy character. He's this big guy. Yeah. And he's kind of a pacifist at the beginning. He says due to his Muslim beliefs, he can't be violent. So Carl Weathers sitting there hitting him. It's like, if you're not careful, I'm going to break you.
Right, which is funny. He punches him twice, and it's like the punch where, like, his head, like, almost like it doesn't even faze him. He punches him once in the stomach, once in the face.
Yeah, to no effect.
Yeah, but then he's able to, like, plow him.
Yeah, he plows him through the door, which ends up taking him out. Yeah. But the guy's a nice guy.
Yeah.
So, it's one of those unnecessary scenes that are just awkward and hilarious. But for this one... They are in, like, this abandoned manufacturing thing, like almost like a steel plant or something. Sure. You think maybe they make car parts there. There's chains and, like, equipment all over the place. There's torches. which is also pretty accurate to Detroit. If anybody's ever driven through it, there's plenty of buildings like that.
Yeah.
So the bad guys are there. They have Carl Weathers captured, and then kind of just out of nowhere, here's that guy.
Yeah.
I guess his name is Ed. When I looked him up, they said his name was Ed, but I didn't know it from the movie.
Right.
So when he shows up, he's up on this high spot looking down at the bad guys, and he just says, "Hello, I'm Mr. Red," and then jumps down on him, right?
Right.
That part always cracks me up because it just seems so weird and random for him to say that.
Well, that too, and like they didn't hint at all that he was following them.
No.
And up until the part where she goes to the bar.
Well, okay, they
to get that guy.
Yeah, that
they
part.
were tricking to get information. That's when they finally show, but they're leaving it mystery. Like, you're almost thinking, well, he works for Delaplane.
He does work for Delaplane,
so
but he's
you're
a good
thinking
guy.
that he's there just trailing her to get to Action Jackson, but it turns
out to be one of the good
But
good
it
guys.
makes no sense how he was able to keep up with them and know where they were going to go, and like, how did he know that they were going to track this guy? How did he know that guy was going to be at the bar?
Apparently he has stealthy ninja powers, too. How did he get up on top of that thing? Like, he's a giant ogre of a guy.
Yeah, exactly.
How did he crawl up to this little spot and hide there? So that was another one. And then maybe your favorite one, last one I'll talk about, is a car driving up the stairs.
Yes.
So end of the movie.
And round the corner, so the hallway.
End of the movie. Setting is Delaplane's, mansion.
Yeah.
And I believe it's the same car we saw in the hottest commercial.
Oh, yeah, I guess it was.
And, all heck is breaking loose. Carl Weathers has to go chase down Craig T. Nelson. Craig T. Nelson is hiding in his mansion, up in the bedroom. So Carl Weathers, Action Jackson, jumps into this sports car, little red sports car.
Kills a guy with it.
Plows into the house, kills his butler.
Yeah, which was a bad guy.
Yeah. Then
throws it in reverse.
He already has the car in the house.
Yeah.
There's the stairs. Not straight up stairs, but stairs that go up corners and stuff. Drives the car up the stairs, going around the corners, takes the car down the hallway, pulls a 90-degree turn inside of this little hallway to keep going down, and crashes the car into his bedroom.
Which was funny, too, because they just so happened to show that Delaplane opens the door, sees it's about to come. But otherwise, I was thinking, how exactly would he know exactly which room to go to?
Or that he wouldn't kill Vanity by crashing.
And that's another thing I was going to say. Like, how did he know where she was within the room? Because he literally just plowed right through. Yeah, he could have pretty much killed her himself. But yeah, it's...
And then proceed to the final good guy, bad guy showdown that results in bad guy dying.
Yeah.
Through another extremely powerful pistol shot.
Right.
Yeah, so those are my favorite moments of this movie. I suggest that if you haven't seen it, even though I spoiled it for you already, to go and watch it because it is the most entertaining. It is so bad it's good type style entertainment. Well, let's get to our nitpicks. I know we have certain things that were like, well, what is this and what is that?
Okay.
So I'll let you go.
So I thought it was funny. Maybe this is nothing or silly of me to point out, but like toward the beginning of the movie, they show this woman counting her money in Detroit.
On the bus, yeah.
And I was like, okay, you just don't count your money in Detroit on the bus, but I thought that was funny. And they have this running gag with this guy that was going to try to rob her, but a cop happens to be right next to him on the bus, so he doesn't. But he tries to snatch a purse, and like the lady beats him up. And
lady is a loose term there.
Okay, fine. He gets beat up, but regardless, he ends up getting arrested, and they're building up the legacy of Action Jackson so that by the time
they're trying to scare him.
Yeah, so they get to him, and it becomes this running gag where he constantly keeps running into Action Jackson, like the part where right before the cab chase, they're in that restaurant talking, and like the guy goes to walk in, he sees Jackson, runs out, and then later when they're hiding out in that hotel, he ends up being the guy serving the breakfast, which that doesn't look like the type of hotel that serves breakfast, but he's there, and then he ends up bringing him to the party. I was like, how did he get a hold of this? Like so it's not funny, but it's supposed to be funny where like he keeps running into him, and then at the end, Jackson gets a hold of this kid to have him come to Delaplane's house for the big showdown, which I was like, okay, like of all the people you could have got, like it's just kind of ridiculous. But
this movie is filled with like moments that are contradictory in logic. Like, all right, the kid wants to steal, so he's making it obvious that he's going to steal in front of cops. He does that a few times.
Yeah.
He's working at the hotel, so doing like the room service, I suppose.
Sure.
For one, it's a super slummy hotel.
Right.
So it seems kind of weird that, one, they would even have a room service.
Right, yeah.
And two, like, you know, maybe he couldn't hire the best people, but he gave this kid a job who's obviously been in and out of jail a few times. And then later on, like, they're giving Jericho Jackson the assignment. Like, okay, we're going to get you back out in the field. And his first assignment is to go to this event where they're honoring Peter Delaplane as Man of the Year.
Right. They wouldn't send him to the place where the person that he had the biggest issue with. Mm-hmm. It seems like a conflict of interest.
Like, it caused him to get demoted. It caused him to get divorced from his wife.
Right.
And, like,
okay, here's another thing. He's a cop that can't carry a gun. Like, remember that his gun privileges were revoked?
I don't remember that part.
They actually said he wasn't allowed to carry.
Uh-huh.
And if you look in the movie, he doesn't carry until the very end. Like,
because the other cop gave him his gun.
Right. So that cop that gave him the gun was his former partner. They never quite said that I'm aware of. What was the issue that he had with his former partner that he,
Probably
like what
greed.
drove the caused a rift between them?
There's a couple of backstories that they allude to, but they kind of just dance around. That's one, is this guy's past problems. Mm-hmm. And the other big one would be like his son. Whatever happened with his son and Jackson.
And the other running theme I noticed is the terrible music choices.
I love the music.
I mean, I'm just saying, they pick some weird or funny, just goofy music.
The 80s music in it, I think, is great and fun. Like when Vanity's doing her stuff, like it's
not just hers, but I'm saying like there's points where like they'll just like cut to the next scene and there's music playing, and then they cut to the next scene. I feel like every time they cut to a next scene, I feel like there's some music playing and instrumental music.
The instrumental music is something I wanted to bring up. It's weird because like okay, you got these 80s songs that are in there; those are fine.
Mm-hmm. I didn't recognize any of those 80s songs. They weren't like popular. Like you know how like some
they aren't popular today, but back in the day,
maybe. Or I just wonder if they couldn't get the rights to have these songs.
Well, I figure if they're already paying Vanity, it's like we'll help you, you help us thing.
Sure.
We'll promote your movie.
Yeah, sure.
But anyway, there's this musical. It's not a score. I don't know, musical cues that happen.
Mm-hmm. Like when he's
every now and then, and it's just like
girl and.
Well, that was funny too. But no, there's this cartoony thing. Like, imagine Wile E. Coyote getting hit on the head with a rock and then turning into an accordion. Mm-hmm. The kind of music that might play after that while he's walking away or something.
Yeah.
They play that kind of stuff throughout the movie constantly. And it's so weird. It is literally a cartoon soundtrack.
Okay.
And, they don't just play it when their joke happens. They'll play it when the joke happens, and then they'll keep playing it for the whole scene. And it is so weird and out of place.
Yeah, I mean, I noticed they had that great sexy saxophone music. You gotta love that typical 80s stuff. And
I'm glad you brought up the hairdresser, by the way, because I loved her. What did you think
How
of her?
does she know so much?
Because she's a hairdresser. I don't know. People talk when they get their hair cut, I guess.
I guess so.
So what happened was they had an informant named Papa Doc.
Yeah.
And they go to visit him, and I can't even remember why they would even need to. But Jackson needs to go get this information from this guy, and I guess he worked at a bar or something. He hasn't been to see him in a while. Gets there, and then there's a few guys there that are in charge now. I guess they kill Papa Doc. And then that's where they have the scene where he pretends like he's a religious nut.
Yeah.
But Papa Doc was there. They had his balls in a jar.
Yes.
That was weird. But then he ends up going to the new informant.
Which makes me almost wonder if that's all they did to him at first. Like maybe like that was a strike one. Like because like why would you cut them off and then kill him? I'm assuming it was like
why any of it.
Yeah. Well.
So there's so many whys to that scene. But so after they get out of that mess, they go to see the new informant, which is this chubby hairdresser lady, and she's so peppy and happy all the time, and she speaks with this theatrical to her voice.
Tones?
She's theatrical the way she speaks.
Sure, yeah.
And she's so funny, and her name is Dee, so she does as much as she possibly can to use the sound D. She'll say words like delicious, type of things.
See, I didn't catch that.
It was decisively delightful and stuff like that. She keeps saying that kind of stuff, and she's dancing, doing her thing.
Yeah.
I loved her. She was great.
So let's jump to the scene. There's a scene somewhat early in the movie where there's somebody that they're going to assassinate. He's on a boat, and they kill his guys. They get in there, and literally they cuff this little briefcase or little box to him.
Like they would need to.
Yeah, and open it up, and
it's like 5 seconds left.
5 second left bomb. So I'm wondering, okay, why go through the trouble to cuff it? Like, is it just because they wanted him to know? Like,
well, they do their ninja skills again on this boat. They're out in the middle of nowhere.
Taking out the guys one by one.
Yeah, taking out all his guys one by one. If they were that sneaky and effective, like, couldn't they have just put the bomb on the boat?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Unless they wanted this guy to know, like, basically, if you get blown up, it happens. Obviously, you don't know you've been beaten. Like, that's the only thing I can think of. Like, it's more of a torture to be like, there's this bomb, you're stuck to it. You got 10 seconds. There's no way you can get away from it. For you to know, like, oh, crap. Just send a message like, Delaplane is upset with you and basically, like, you're fired. No pun intended. But, like, just a way to stick it to him, like, you know, that instead of just him blowing up and he's dead, like, let him know, like put some fear in him for his last final seconds. That's the only thing I
think
of.
Yeah, it's so weird.
It's silly.
It's like 80s. It's every 80s cliche overblown to the max.
Yeah. I thought it was funny, too, that Carl Weathers even drives that car. He has this car. What they say? It's a 67 or something. Dang it. What was it? It's a very nice car that he said he took several years to restore.
Wasn't it an Impala?
I can't remember.
It's
either. A very nice car. Why would he even drive that in Detroit? And they show at one point where he parks
it in an alley.
He parks it in an alley.
What do you think's going to happen?
The next day, I was all upset because it's all tore up.
What would really happen is they wouldn't tear the car up; they would just steal it.
And that was another point I wrote down.
But like that's the cliche. That's the cliche: is you leave your car parked here, you're not going to have tires.
Right, and that was actually a point I wrote. Like, what thief would say? Yeah, because what did you really see stolen? The lid to the trunk.
Oh yeah.
So I was like, yeah. So some thieves see this car, and then instead of just taking the entire car, instead of ripping it apart and taking little pieces, yeah, you take the whole car. It was just stupid. It was stupid of him to drive it around and park it in an alley all night. It was stupid of whoever stole it to tear it up like that. It was just dumb stuff like that.
There's a thing that's kind of funny that I noticed. It's not really a nitpick or anything, but did you notice that Jericho had a pet?
No.
Action Jackson, Carl Weathers, has a pet bird in this movie, just a little parakeet.
I didn't notice that.
Yeah, it's in his apartment. One of the things I did notice that was kind of a nitpick was the butler, Delaplane's butler. Like, yeah. Everybody that works for him is in on this stuff except for his wife, I suppose. Yeah. So she's taking a shower, doing whatever. She goes to open up the door, and she sees the butler standing in the middle of the hallway.
She opens it this wide.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you think it would be the type of thing if she opens, like, and then pulls it shut, and she's kind of watching. She pulls the door open, like, this wide, and is basically, like, right there, and it was just ridiculous. But I don't know, it's ridiculous that she didn't...
Why is he standing in the hallway in the middle of the house when he knows there's somebody nearby that can't know about the secret plans, and he's just talking about it freely in the open?
Yeah.
And then she cracks the door open. He can see her in the mirror is what happened.
Okay. So he goes to see his friend Tony to get some information, I guess, and Tony's all paranoid. Uh-huh. Did you notice the way Tony crawls across the floor to him? That was really strange. Do you remember that?
The actor... I like that actor. I think he's...
I'm not doubting him, but like it's just weird what they had him do.
I've seen him in plenty of stuff. Typically, he plays a bad guy, but not always.
Yeah, yeah.
And this, he wasn't a bad guy, but that performance that he gave was really hammed up and just like really overacted.
And he puts his hand on his face and he holds it there for like half a minute, and I was like that's just weird.
He does all the things to make you think that this guy's going crazy. Like, I haven't had sleep. He's got the cigarette half hanging out. Yeah. His hair's a mess. He's got the stubble and all that stuff. And he's sweating, and he keeps repeating himself. Just all those things like, okay, this guy's a nut, you know? Yeah. This guy's worried about something. It's making him go crazy.
But what's funny is then the assassin comes, and he smiles real bit like, oh, this is exciting to get a package. Like, and I was like... He looks like he gives paranoid. This smile like this is... I'm excited. And I was just like... How stupid are you?
He's super paranoid. He knows people are coming to get him. He's peeking out the window. Yeah. He's making sure that Jackson wasn't followed and all this stuff. Yeah. So right after Jackson leaves, here comes the APS guy. And, you know, he just opens the door without looking out the hole or anything first, I don't think. Yeah. Opens it, standing
what happens, that's it. The APS guy, the assassin parcel service guy, he knocks, the door opens. So that means he didn't shut the door behind. Once Carl Weathers left, you think he would like lock it up tight.
So it's even worse.
So yeah, he carelessly just let it be.
You got a package for you. Okay, one, you're at a hotel where nobody's supposed to know you're at.
Right.
So you don't think twice about it?
Or was that his apartment?
I believe that was a hotel.
Oh, okay.
And he was still hiding out.
Okay.
Anyway.
Yeah, it was just silly. And then, like, they abruptly cut to the club scene. It was such a weird cut. Like, we got to get this moved along. Like, it just was very strange to me. Did you notice that? Or is it just me?
That whole scene was just weird.
Yeah. So, yeah, we talked a little bit. There's the scene where Craig T. Nelson is practicing fighting. And it's just one of those scenes that is just very obvious. It's one of those things to just show how bad the bad guy is. That he's, kicking the crap out of all these other guys. And he breaks the guy's arm. He has the guy beat, the guy's down, and then he, acts like he's going to help him back up, and he just breaks his arm. It's just one of those needless scenes.
There was a scene where I think Vanity says, "What are you, a member of the A-Team or something?"
Okay.
And I remember thinking that was kind of funny, because this movie, in a way, almost reminds me of the A-Team, if the A-Team were to show horrible violence instead of just implying it and then showing that, car flipped over, but you see the bad guys get out. They're okay. They didn't die. But in this, like, people are getting blown away, blown up, caught on fire, all sorts of crazy stuff.
Yeah.
There's also a part that kind of reminded me of James Bond.
Okay.
It was a line that Delaplane gave. So Carl Weathers says, "What do you want from me?"
Oh, yeah.
"I want you to die."
Yeah. Yeah, I could see that. I actually thought that myself.
At the end of the movie, when they were going to have that guy dressed as Action Jackson to assassinate the other dude, thought it was funny, like, he was hidden in a tree that didn't have a lot of foliage on it and was surrounded by lights.
Yeah.
It had lights going through the tree.
It wasn't even tree that was, like, that far away. Like,
I know they kind of wanted them to see him so they could frame Jackson again.
Yeah, I guess.
But like, this guy's up there in a tree holding the gun, and he's got sunglasses on. Like, had anybody even looked over there, they would have seen this dude right away.
So, okay, we get to Vanity's second song. She's singing now to Carl Weathers. And, again, we're going to see the whole entire song. And then, she's slowly kind of sashaying over to his table. You think, she sing the song, people clap, and she sat down. So what'd you think? And then, like, he start asking her information or trying to learn something from her. As soon as she finishes her song, they just cut the scene. So it was like, I remember I looked at you, I was like, that was the most pointless scene. You think it's building up to something where he's got to get something, information, and, like, they just cut to the next scene. It was just so dumb and just a waste of time, and I don't know, it was just strange. He gets framed for Sharon Stone's murder. He decides to take her and let's go to her place to hide out. And I was thinking, like, why would you? So his friend was already murdered. They knew where he was at. Sharon Stone was murdered. They put her in his place. This is his mistress. Why would you go to her place? And, of course, they get there, and her microwave or whatever it was blows up.
It was the answering machine.
Okay, sorry, the answering machine. Regardless, it was just a stupid choice to go there. It just kind of surprised me. That's
another thing, like, all right, so the police aren't going to find it suspicious that this guy's mistress was blown up from a bomb in the answering machine? Like, they didn't try to make it look like it was an accident. Yeah,
it was just stupid. Yeah. So the guy that he knows at the hotel, I couldn't understand where that guy said.
Kid Sable, the former boxer. I've seen that guy in some other things. I can't remember off the top of my head. But, that guy is a little difficult to understand.
We kind of already touched on it. We get to the scene where Mr. Ed rescues him. Do you notice that all the bad guys who were Ninja Ghost now are, like, taking turn, like, giving one guy, attacks him.
The classic, watch the other people fight and wait for your turn.
It was just kind of ridiculous. Let's give time for Action Jackson to escape. And it was just ridiculous.
Classic bad guy fashion. Yeah. Explain my evil plan to you. Leave you in a situation where you can escape.
Unless I was looking at it wrong, when the scene where the sniper's in the tree, Carl Weathers, like, grabs there's like those strung out lights, like party outdoor lights, whatever you call it. He, like, Tarzans.
They're kind of like Christmas tree, or the lights people put on their homes for Christmas.
Right, but they're, like, just
party lights.
Party lights. He somehow, like, Tarzans up from the ground.
I can picture him swinging on it, but I can't picture how he got up there.
But yeah, I'm pretty sure he was down on ground level, and somehow he's swinging up. It didn't make sense unless I'm looking at it wrong. I also thought it was funny that after the big showdown, he rams the car in there, and, like, they're gonna have a fight. She's bound, but yeah, as soon as he kills Delaplane, she just.
Oh yeah.
It's
like My Pet Monster handcuffs. She just says like boop.
Yeah.
And they're free. She could have helped, but she never did.
They played
She had the gun sitting right next to her, too.
Yeah. They played the High Noon theme, I believe. Or I think that's High Noon. Wah, wah, wah.
Yeah.
I can't remember where that was, but that was kind of funny to me that they did that.
Yeah, that was in the movie. I can't remember exactly what part.
In Commando, there's a part where there's this Australian guy, and he's real big on his knife. And in the final fight, the Schwarzenegger convinces the guy to put down the gun. Let's fight. Like, let's do it.
Don't shoot me, run me over.
Yeah, twice he does that. He wants the one guy like, oh, don't shoot me. Why don't you run me over? Let's be more, let's be men about this. And then the same thing with Delaplane. Like, hey, put down the gun. Let's fight it out. It's just funny to me that it reminded me of that movie. I don't know if, I just get the impression there's certain other movies that came out around this time that they were just looking at and maybe saying like, that's a great scene, or that's a great thing, let's do this, or that's cool, this is funny, this is, that. Mm-hmm. That's what it reminded me of, though.
It's that 80s tough guy action thing, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, there's little stuff like that that are kind of goofy. This.
Yeah, there's something about that. Like, at the end, he assembles his ragtag team. It's all these people that have kept showing up throughout the movie. So it's Mr. Ed, it's the hotel manager, it's the thief, the kid.
Yeah.
And that way, it kind of almost reminded me of like an adventure fantasy movie in a way. Like, all right, we know where the bad guy is, but I can't go straight to him. First, I got to go here and talk to these people. Then I got to go talk to these people. And then this person joins the party. Right. And then they keep moving on. And then they go to visit, like, let's go see the Oracle, but the Oracle's dead, type of thing.
Yeah, it's all over the place. It's very goofy, but it was fun.
Mm-hmm. So you want to do final thoughts now?
Yeah, it's very random. I actually wrote down exactly what you just said. It's him going from person to person, asking questions with a goofy song playing. It has, just ridiculous lines. It's funny to me with 80s movies, action movies, especially one called Action Jackson, where the lead guy, it's funny to me, it's not one of those movies where it has a lot of him gunfighting. Mm-hmm. It's he really only shoots it one time. It's kind of funny that
way I think they are almost kind of clever.
Yeah, I mean, because you think, okay, even if he's a cop that had his gun privileges taken away, you think at the very least once he killed a guy that had a gun, because at that point he's being hunted by the police himself, you might as well have a gun yourself. I don't know.
Yeah, it's this movie, like I wrote down in my notes here, I said, tone doesn't flow. It slams from scene to scene. And that's true. Like, it goes from being kind of goofy, silly, innocent, mm-hmm. and making jokes and being cheesy, to being over the top. Still cheesy, but in a different way of this action, ultra violent. That was one of the things, like, I went through and I read that review from Roger Ebert to see what he thought of it. And that was one of the things that he hated. But, like, for me, I don't know if it's because I'm looking back at it and I don't have to sit in the theater to watch it, or if maybe at that time he just wasn't in a good mood, Roger Ebert. Yeah. But that was one of the things I loved about this movie. I loved how just over the top it was. The comedy failed and the action failed. They both failed, but in magnificent ways.
Right. It was supposed to be funny, like the kid constantly running into him. Wasn't
like
funny.
It might make you chuckle or something and be like, oh, okay, I get it.
Funny, but then the over the top crazy action stuff that was, I was assuming, supposed to be cool,
was hilarious.
That's what was funny.
It's, for me, it's so bad it's good. Like, all right, if I'm gonna give it a score, a real score, it wasn't the greatest movie. Like a C-, a D+, something around there. But for me personally, entertainment value. Yeah. Like, I can sit down and watch this movie and just have a ball. Okay. More so than a lot of other movies that are considered good. Right.
Well, our mystery movie
I'd give it an A.
Okay.
So, critical score, D+. Okay. But personal score, an A. Like, so
you're just going to kind of meet it in the middle and say a C or something?
No. I'm going to go,
You're giving it two separate scores?
I'm going to give it 2 scores, yeah. D and A. So, it's, okay. I love this movie. I'll watch it again sometime. I was so excited to show it to you because you hadn't seen it before. And there's all those great moments. It doesn't feel long. It could feel long and terrible.
No, it doesn't, actually.
Carl Weathers was disappointed that this wasn't a series, and had it gone on, like, I'm sure it would have gotten worse as it went. But I love this movie, and I actually do. I wish there was a sequel. It's probably too late now. But, if you want to see a mindless action movie from the 80s where you can laugh at how dumb it is at certain points, and it's not like it's super terrible either. It's just like it hit the magical spot of where they were trying to make a good movie, but made all the weirdest decisions that they possibly could.
I would love to see a prequel to see him when he was really careless and reckless, dangerous, where he
he's ripping people's kids' arms off.
Yeah, I would love to see him earn that Action Jackson
like
name.
It comes with everything you want, including like the cheesy one-liners and the things that are supposed to be witty.
No, it was a fun movie. I don't think I enjoyed it. Like, okay, with our mystery movie, I had kind of said, well, I'm going to give it this score because I just had, even though it's a terrible movie, I had a lot of fun watching it. And I had fun watching this too. I don't think I maybe had as much fun.
If I had to choose between, I would watch this like 10 times over.
Right.
I enjoyed Suburban Commando. It was making me laugh. But this is like a whole different level.
Okay. All right. I think I will go a D. Because I was thinking about a D minus, but it's like because there was a lot of fun to be had in it,
Oh, do what I did. Give it a critical score and a personal score.
Well, I think all in all, it's a D movie.
But as far as your enjoyment of it and how entertained you were by it, it gets a?
Maybe a C. Okay. So I wouldn't go that much higher. So I'm just gonna I'm giving it one score. I'm just gonna say a D. Okay. It was a fun movie. Mm-hmm. It was fun. It was a good pick.
So would you recommend for somebody to watch it?
Oh yeah, anyone that can, people that can have fun with a bad movie. Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Well, I think that about wraps it up for Action Jackson. Anything else you want to add?
No.
All right. So we'll be moving along now. What's next? Who knows? We'll have to find it out in space here on the Escape Pod.
Cast. Yeah, check us on YouTube, Facebook, iTunes, Podomatic.
Gmail.
I had to think of that. Okay. Yep. Cool.
All right, take it easy. We'll see you next time.
Bye. 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 Bye.
Elliot. Let me shuffle my papers here. Ugh. While you cough.
Yes.